Hey everyone, Leo with the Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our fruit basket box card. Now I have all of my pieces cut out in front of me, as should you, and what I've done is actually broken these down by section so that we can focus on one little insert at a time. Okay, we're going to start off with this insert here. We've got the bananas and the grapes. Obviously you want to take and fold the tabs at the score marks, and I would go back and forth just once on each. That way, when we actually build the final card, things will flow a lot easier for us. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this piece here and we're going to start putting the grapes down. And we're going to start with this piece. Okay, so let's get our glue flowing. Check your flow. And I'm just going to use a series of little dots because we've got a lot of little holes on this. Try to get some of that glue out to the very edge, at least in some of the sections, so it doesn't come pulling off. Don't need to cake it with glue everywhere. And then you can also take it and just with your finger gently kind of dab that glue and just get that lined up as accurately as you can on top of the little cutouts that are already there on our little yellow piece. Okay, so that's what that should look like. Next, we're going to take and put this piece on. And I'm just going to start doing the same thing, just little dots, just a tiny little bit of glue. It's a very small piece, not very heavy, doesn't need a lot of adhesive. Okay, and here I would focus on aligning just the very base first. Get that lined up and then just follow the rest of the holes like that. So we've got sort of a two-tone thing going on with our grapes here. Now, of course, with pretty much anything we make, inking is optional. You can definitely ink if you want. Okay, next we're going to grab this piece here, and this should fit on like a little puzzle. Okay, you can see how that kind of just snaps in. So let's get our glue on this guy. And I'm just doing little dots since everything is kind of delicate. I'll kind of spread that nice and thin with my finger. And as I mentioned, just pop it right into place. We've got the little leaf element as well as the stem all joined together. You can see how nicely that goes together. Next, we're going to grab some of the little green section of our little bunch of grapes. Just a few little dots there. That's going to go right on top there. Again, just like a little puzzle. Pop that into place. And then to give the grapes a little two-tone effect, half of the green part of our grapes is a bit of a lighter color. And that's going to go on the right-hand side. Just going to pop that right on top of itself, just like that. Okay. Then we do have this tiny little stem, and that is for our banana. I think one little dot of glue should do. I'm just going to match that up right there. Make sure you get it nice and aligned. And there we go. Okay. So now we're going to take this entire piece and just glue it down onto the little insert like so. All right. So let's get our glue flowing. And I'm going to cover up the entire banana here. And then just a little bit on the grape as well. The grapes, plural. Again, try to get some of that glue out to the very edge. And let's just line that up. Okay, as you're placing the banana down, just make sure that this edge right here is nice and flush with the side. Okay, so this one's done. I'm going to put it underneath my mat so that as it dries flat for us. And we'll move on to the next section here. And this section contains a beautiful little apple and an orange. Okay, so we're going to start off by gluing the orange down. You can do the apple first if you want, but just follow along here. Go easy on the glue here. Another little delicate piece. Doesn't need a whole heck of a lot of glue. Whoops. Okay, just pop that right into place, right on top of the little shadow elements. There we go. Just like that. Press that down. And then we have the little stem. Again, another little delicate piece, so don't overdo it with the glue. Just go easy on it. Pop it right on there. You can see exactly where it needs to go. And press that down. And then let's look at the apple here. We're going to start off with this piece, the darker green. And get your glue on the back of this one. So this is mostly kind of taking us back to the days of scrapbooking in a sense, until we get to the actual assembly of the card. Okay, press that down. Whoops, I missed a little bit. That's okay. All right, and now the overlay. This looks like a Granny Smith. And pop that right on top of the previous layer. There we go. And then finally we have just a little stem. I'm just going to do 2 little tiny dots of glue on there. And you just want to match that up with the stem that's there. Like so. And there we go. Okay, so we've got our apple and our orange. They look really cool actually. The inking and the shading really bring it to life and make it pop. Put that underneath my mat and move on to the next section here. Okay, now we've got some cherries, we've got a lemon and a strawberry. Okay, our lemon is actually going to go down flat right onto the little area there, the shadow area for the lemon. So let's get that going. Just line that up. You can see the very tip of it and where it goes. Pardon my head here for a second. There we go. Okay. This little cherry right here, let me lift this up so you can actually see it. This one right here, this one is just a cherry, no stem, anything like that. So we're just going to glue that down flat. Okay. Just like that. Now this one here, you can see that there's another shadow of a cherry there. This one we are going to build, let's see here. Okay, so let's just separate these real quick. There's 2 cherries left. One that has a stem pointing to the right, one that has a stem pointing to the left. Okay, let's just separate the 2. And these guys here, there's a white piece that's going to go here. And then I think these are pretty much identical maybe. Let's see. I don't think they are. I think one's a little bit smaller. Yeah, so the smaller one, let me double check for you. I think the smaller cherry that's left is going to go on the one with the stem, indeed. So there's 2 cherries left. One is a little bit smaller. This is the larger one. The larger one, we need to, this is the one with the stem that's going to the right. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to take the brown piece and glue it on top of the green piece. So let's do that. Throw a little bit of glue on that stem too. Pop that right on top of the green. There we go. And then grab the actual red part of the cherry and pop that on top of the brown. There we go. Press that down. And then this is actually going to get glued down onto the card base. This is one of the inserts. The other one's actually going to be, we're going to make it dimensional. It's going to be kind of free floating. Just pop that right on top. You've got the little shadow part of the stem and the leaf. So that's going to go there like that. Okay, and let's build another cherry. White layer in the back, then the brown layer, then the green layer. Actually, check that. Green layer on top of the white, my bad. Let's start with the green layer. Make sure you get some glue up to the leaf and the stem. Okay, so we've got green going on top of the white. Just line that up, match it up like so. Then brown on top of green. You can see that I'm moving pretty quick here because I'm not spending a lot of time adding glue. I'm going very easy with the glue. Okay, line that up. Just like that. And then finally, the red part of our cherry. And there we go. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're actually going to take and using a little foam square, I'm going to pop this onto the insert with a little foam square just to give it a little bit of dimension. And you can see kind of the, right between these two cherries is kind of almost like a little wave, but that corresponds to the top of the cherry. So just try to line that up as accurately as you can, like that. Okay, so now we've got a nice, beautiful little dimensional cherry there. And we're gonna build ourselves a strawberry as well. And it's going to be white, then green, then the strawberry color, the red. So let's do that. Just a few little dots here and there. Go easy. A little bit goes a long way when you're dealing with small, delicate pieces like this. Let's get that lined up. There we go. And top it off with the most delicious part of the strawberry, unless you like eating the leaves. I don't. And get that lined up. There we go. Okay, so now with this, what we're actually going to do is we're actually going to tuck this behind the lemon there. So I'm going to flip this over, and you can see on the back of the lemon there's a series of little score marks, and that's to help you with the positioning of this. Okay, so what we're trying to do here is kind of put it like this. So just follow the little curve. Okay, that's kind of what we want it to look like. All right, make sure that these have been folded a few times. Put that off to the side so we can start on the next layer. This is actually the backmost layer. Okay, and let's just move this out of the way. We've got a little flower. Okay, so we're going to start off with this piece here. And we've got a little bit of there's a lot going on here. So do your best to get your glue on as much of this as you can without going too crazy. You might have to go back and kind of do a little bit of cleanup, and that's okay. Just work some glue around the actual pineapple. I think that might work, and we can always go back in and clean it up. So the little scallop portions need to be centered so that we have an even border going around, and then obviously we want to match up the pineapple as well. And that's exactly how it should look. This I need to nudge in a little bit, and there we go. Okay. Next, we're going to take the green piece of our pineapple and just glue that down flat. Get a little bit of glue to the very tips of the little leaves. And just match it up. You can use the little triangular cutouts there as a guide for placement. initially, and then when you work your way up, just make sure that the little leafy portion of our pineapple is matching up with the leafy portion on the previous layer, just like that. Okay, next we're going to take the actual fruit portion, get that glued down, just like that. And line that up. I'm using the little triangular cutouts there as my guide. Beautiful. Next, we're going to take this little leafy portion, and that's just to give this a little bit of a two-toned effect. I got a little bit too much glue on there, so I'll just hit that with my finger, dab some of it off. And this one's going to go right here. So just find this section here, like that, and press that down. And then this little piece here is going to go right up at the top, so you just need to match this up with the two little points at the top. Get a little bit of glue up to those points as well if you can. And if you get too much, just hit it with your finger. Okay, and let's line that up and press it down. All right, next we're going to build ourselves a little 3D flower, and it's going to go like this. It's kind of pointing up, and what we can do actually is take a dowel, place one of the leaves between your finger and the dowel. This is the texture side where I inked. I'm going to raise this up about 90 degrees and run the dowel through, and that's going to give it a little bit of a curve. You can see how it's curved now. That might be a little bit too much, but it'll flatten out. It doesn't really have a choice because this is, well, it's going to fold flat into an envelope, but if we can give it a little bit of oomph, that would be cool. Throw a little dot of glue right into that little circle there at the base of the pair of leaves, then place the green one right on top. Let that set for a second. Do the same thing with the flower. So this is the texture side. I'm going to flip it over, take my dowel, place it between my finger and the first petal, raise the petal 90 degrees and run the dowel through. Okay, and that's just going to give it a little bit of a nice curve. You can see how it's not sitting flat. Do the same thing to this one. Okay, so now what we're going to do is let's going to connect the flowers. So throw just a little dot of glue in the center of one of the sets of petals. Take the other set and pop it right on top, offsetting the petals so that they're not right on top of each other. You want it to look as full as possible. And then we have this little brown stamen piece, the center of our flower. Put a little bit of glue on that. Pop that right in the center and press that down. Give that a second. There we go. And we're going to take that and glue it to the center of, well, actually to the bottom here. You can see there's like a little circle at the base of the middle leaf. And just try to line that up with the center of the flower, like so. And then we're going to actually take and using a foam square, or if you have like a 3D Zot, that's fine too. We'll throw that right on the back, and I'm going to apply that to the handle here. You can put it right about there is good, just like that. Okay. And if you want, you can kind of create a little bit of separation between these. Ultimately, I think once we actually put this in the envelope, it'll flatten out a lot. But anyway, all right, so that one's done, and that just leaves the actual structure of our card. Actually, I take that back. Let's go back here for a second. This is the face of, or the front of the back of the card. We'll flip this over. We have this little rectangular piece. This is where you're going to either stamp or write your message. So let's get that glued into place. Almost forgot to do that. Okay. Let's get that in place. Nice and centered, so we have an even border all the way around. And press that down. Beautiful. Okay, so that is now officially done. And move this out of the way. Kind of like how I did this, where I just broke things down into smaller sections. Definitely helpful, I think. Okay, so we have this, and I did not fold this. These are actually going to fold out. It's almost like a little tablecloth. Okay, so what we're going to do is, well, first off, we need to get these panels in place. Okay, and these panels, these two are identical, I believe. Let's take a look. Yep, and these are going to go right here, and they're going to be centered but flush with this little triangle. So we're going to get it up as far as we can go, even border along the other three sides. So let's get that going. And then once we get this part done, this is going to go quick. You can actually start putting the card together, which is not as hard as you may think. For those of you that have never made a box card, I'll walk you through it step by step. Okay, again, flush with that little, right where the fold is, but centered on the left, bottom, and right, just like that, because this thing's going to be kind of hanging over it. Okay, same thing on the other side. So let's get that rocking and rolling here. And we have a beautiful little tablecloth that we're going to integrate with this here in just a moment. Again, nice and flush. I'm kind of using this as a backstop and pushing this up as far as it'll go against that little triangle, nice and centered. And then press that down. Again, should have an even border on the bottom, left and right, just like that. Okay, next, we've got this piece here, and it's 2 layers thick. Okay, so I'm going to glue one to the other, and then we're going to actually glue that down onto the card base in just a moment here. Just make sure you get that glue out and about, out to the perimeter, and then maybe between these little areas here. Whoops. There we go. Just line that up as accurately as you can. Just use your fingers to kind of feel for the alignment. I think once you get used to it, you can actually feel when one layer that's on top of the other is slightly off. Okay, there we go. And we've got this little piece here that's going to go on top. You can see exactly where it needs to go. Just like that. And get that glued in place. There we go. Nice and aligned with that layer. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we need to take and I'm going to apply these little panels onto our little red sections here. Okay, now just want to make sure that when we do this that it looks right. Okay, so it's going to go like that. You're going to have a little bit of an even border around the perimeter, but it's going to be flush at the top where you don't have any of those little doilies. There we go, just like that. Using my finger up at the top here to make sure that everything is nice and flush. Press that down. We'll do the same thing with the other one. Now obviously you want to make sure that you're putting your triangle on correctly. It's got to go like this, obviously. Get your glue on there. And line that up. There we go. And that just leaves this guy here. And we want this to be flush right at where the fold is. Again, centered so that you have an even border around the perimeter. So let's get our glue going here. Definitely get some glue out to the very tips as well. Just like that. And if it helps, you can tuck this little tab back so that you can get a better visual on the placement, just like that. And press that down into place. Beautiful. Okay, so now these guys here, we're actually going to glue these down. So this is the front of the box here. Okay, these are going to be hanging over like this. So we want to glue them this way. You don't want to glue them like this, because then when this folds over, you won't see it. So it goes on top. Okay. So what we're going to do is apply glue to this little triangle here. I'm going to go easy with it. You don't need a lot. And just line that up nice and flush. Just like that. And if you want, you can actually put that down on your surface to press down, get a little bit more pressure. And there you go. You can see how that works. Same thing with this guy here. Pretty straightforward so far, I'd say, right? Don't you think? Just gonna spread that glue out a little bit. Grab my other piece. Pop that right on. Uh-oh. Yeah, we're gonna have to re-glue that. Okay. Yeah, I'm just putting it down flat like this. That's good. Okay, perfect. So now we can move this out of the way. And what we're going to do with this piece here, we're actually going to glue this tab to the inside of the face. Okay, and that's going to come down like this. So we do want to make sure that we have it nice and centered. Okay, so let's go ahead and this is the face of it. We're going to flip it over and put glue on the tab here. We want that glue going up to the very edge of the top so that that stays nice and put. Okay, so you can literally just, if you fold it kind of halfway, don't glue it to itself, but you can kind of use it to drop it on top of this section here. Make sure it's centered, push down, make sure it's as far down as it'll go, and then you can press down from the inside. Just like that. There we go. And there we go. Okay. And then finally, we've got this section here. That just needs to get glued on like so. A little bit of this is going to be sticking off. That's by design. But we're going to bring it up as far as it'll go. And we can kind of use this piece as a little bit of a stopper. And that's going to give us that nice even border at the bottom and the top. And when we apply glue to this, just keep the glue within the set. Just pretend that this rectangle continues up through here. Just forget that that even exists. Do not put glue on that section there because it's not really touching anything. It's kind of free floating. So keep the glue within the confines of our little virtual rectangle here. And that ought to do the trick. So I'm going to put it in at an angle a bit. Make sure that it's centered. And that looks good, does it, Leo? Better look good. Everyone's watching. And there we go. So I'm going to flip this over and push down from the inside to really get that pressure going. And there you have it. Okay. All right. So that part is done. This thing is ready to be assembled now. So let's grab the other pieces. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take this piece, this is the back, and we're going to glue it like this. Okay, so let's start with one side. Grab your glue, start putting glue on one of these tabs. Doesn't really matter which one. I'm going to spread the glue out, try to cover the entire surface of the tab. Okay, and then we're going to take this and connect it right here. Should be flush with the edge and flush with the bottom as well. Okay, and then once you have it, you can actually put it down flat and press down There we go. Okay, so you can see what that tab looks like there. It's connected to this now. Now we're going to take this tab right here and glue it to the other side. Okay, let's get that glue flowing. Okay, and bring it over and just get that connected. Should be flush with the side and flush with the bottom. That looks perfect. Now once you have it and you know that it's tacky enough, you can actually take it and fold it down onto itself and press down, because ideally we want this to be able to kind of swing back and forth like this. It's the whole idea of the box card, so that when you go to mail it, it can go flat. So it should be able to go back and forth like this without any problems. Okay, so there we go. All right, so our container, the main part of the box card, is ready to go. Now it's time to grab the other sections. Okay, and what we're going to do, I'm going to start off with the banana layer. And you want to take and you want to fold the little tabs away from you. Before I actually put the glue on, we're going to put glue on these tabs. We're going to slide this in and we're going to push it back as far as it'll go until those tabs are hitting the back. Then we're going to push up against the tabs this way so that they are glued to the sides of the main structure. Okay. Now with this, I mentioned this in my last video, you definitely want to make sure that you take your time while the glue sets. If you rush it too much, just because of how these box cards are made, and it's pretty much true with any box card, there's going to be a little bit of resistance because we're going to be moving it back and forth a few times, and we just don't want it to prematurely rip. So I'm probably going to go a little bit faster than you should, just for the sake of the video, but you want to take your time with this. So push it down as far as it'll go, down onto the table, and then push it back as far as it'll go. Okay, and then if you have a dowel, that's probably ideal. Take the dowel and then just kind of press that up against the side so that tab is making contact. Take this one, do the same thing. Make sure it's flush with the table. Okay, now once it's got somewhat of a good hold, you can literally take it and just fold it onto itself and then press down right on those tabs. Okay, and I'm going to do one first, and then I'm going to bring it over to the other side, and I'm going to press down now again right on where those tabs are. Okay, and I would, if I were you, probably just leave that be for about a minute or so, just to make sure that it's really getting a good hold. Okay. So do as I say, not as I do. I'm going to keep it cruising here. The next layer that we're putting in is our little apple and orange. Again, same concept. We're going to take and make the tabs go away from us, and we're going to pop them in, push them back as far as they'll go so that the tips of these tabs are touching the previous layer. Then we're going to push them up against the side so that they adhere to the side of our actual box. Okay, so let's get going here. Again, I would highly recommend getting glue on the entire tab, so your fingers might get, well, I use my fingers. You can use something else, a scrap piece of paper, a little brush. I honestly don't think you'd have time to use a brush by the time you get it. This glue tends to set pretty quick, so I use my finger and then just wipe off the glue as I go. Get a better feel for everything that way. All right, so we're going to slide that in, kind of doing it at an angle a little bit. Push it down as far as it'll go. Should be making contact with your table. Then push that back against the previous layer as far as it'll go. And then you can take a little dowel to push that tab up against the side. It doesn't need to be making full contact, but as long as it's making some contact. Down flush against the table. I'm going to take my dowel and I'm really going to push that up against the side. Same with this side. Just give that a good push from top to bottom, just so it's making some sort of contact. And then you can take it and fold it down flat and begin really applying that pressure with your hands. Get those tabs in there really good. And then you can take it and bring it over the other way and press down again. There we go. I would just, again, take some time just to make sure that everything is making good contact, and then let it rest a bit before you move on to the next one. Just want to make sure that everything is really getting a good hold before we move on. Okay, there we go. That's looking awesome. Look at that. Look at all those colors. It's beautiful. There's going to be a little bit of, well, it's not a lot of area. It's a lot of different colors, because obviously fruit is very colorful. So, all right, same thing with the last layer here. Go ahead and apply your glue to the tabs. We're going to spread them out, pop them in just like we did the 2 previous layers, and attach the tabs to the sides of the card. And then that's going to be the last layer. Okay, and again, when we put this in, it's going to go as far back as it can until it touches the previous layer. Just give that a little bit of a push. There we go. You can hear that little snap. Okay, and then if necessary, use a little dowel to get some of that tab to make contact. And then we can take and fold it down. Okay, so there she is. And as you can see, it folds nice and flat. Should be able to fold it in both directions. Okay, and that card is complete. Beautiful. As with all of our cards, we do have a coordinating envelope to go with it. And let's take a look at it real quick here. This is the little overlay or underlay for the flap. What we're going to do is we're going to take this red portion with the little cutouts and glue it on top of the green solid portion. Okay, so let's get our glue on here. There we go. And pop that right on top, lining it up as accurately as you can. Looking to see if any of that little lime green is poking out on any of the sides, and it's not, so I did a pretty good job. And now what we're going to do, we're going to pop this in here, but we're going to kind of peek through the top here and just make sure that we have it aligned as we glue it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of glue just around the perimeter of this piece. Okay, hopefully that wasn't encroaching on any of the other design. And then we'll just do a little bit here, and then around the design. Just do a little bit of glue around there. Maybe a few little dots here. Okay, we'll grab this piece now. And as I mentioned, whoops, just take it and get it lined up with the little leaf section. And there we go. And then you can just press that down. That looks good. Okay, now finally, just need to put this piece on since it was too big to cut out as one solid piece. It looks cool. It's almost got like it's just a little bit different than what you're used to. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this piece now, and we're going to anchor it to the very bottom. Okay, so let's get some glue on this tab here. Spread that out nice and thin. Okay, and we'll take this guy here and get that nice and aligned, nice and centered, flush to the edge, and press that down. Okay, looks pretty good to me. Just continue pressing that down. If you have a brayer, you can use a brayer. Just using my fingers here. Okay. We can open this up, press down from the inside to get the rest of that nice and flat. Okay, and then finally, we're going to take and apply glue to the 2 remaining tabs here and just close the lid, I guess you could say. So let's do that. Get the glue flowing here on this tab. Same thing on the other one. Just like that. And pop that right on top of the 2 tabs that we just put glue on. And just hold that down for a moment. Now I'm not gonna pop this in just yet because I want this to dry. I also want the little inserts on the card to dry, but I'll show you here if we fold it flat. You can see it fits within the confines of the actual envelope. So there you go. So nice coordinating envelope to go with it. I'm gonna add just a few little gold pearls to some of the little flowers. Or actually, there's one flower, and I'm not sure where else I'm gonna put something, but take a look at the final photo of the card if you wanna see where I added a little bit of bling. It's not much. I mean, it pretty much speaks for itself. It's very colorful, so don't need to do much else. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please take a moment and visit our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. You can see I've got a little counter there behind me. I love walking into the studio, see that number goes up. And according to the stats, over 50% of you that watch the videos actually don't subscribe. And that's a great way for us to stay in touch with you, especially with how crazy it is these days on the internet and how hard it is to reach people. And you know you don't want to miss any of our videos, so take a minute and hit that subscribe button. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I would love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, or you can type in this little URL that you see here at the bottom. And yeah, we'd love to see what you're working on. But either way, enjoy the cards. They're beautiful. That came out awesome. Look at that. And as always, I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos. And also, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section where we have over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly videos. I look forward to crafting with you soon.